Hello and welcome. My name is JodieLynn Craven, a creator of Abundance Consciousness, and this is my dear friend Heather Marie.
Hi, I'm Heather Marie, founder of Soulgate. Welcome to Channel Squared, where we have extraordinary conversations about everyday life topics.
We sure do. And today we have a special guest. We're having a roundtable discussion with Quinn Smith, creator, founder of Safe Expansion, all about New Earth stars. So welcome, Quinn. We're excited to have this conversation.
Hello, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Whew. Where should we dig in, Heather?
Well, I think we should just jump in. I know that this isn't probably an everyday life topic, but it's certainly been on the tongues of many in the spiritual community. And so I think it's going to be super fun. I'm really excited to see where this conversation goes because, it's always such a joy to have you, Quinn, on the show. And I know that you bring with you some wonderful information. So I hope you're excited.
Absolutely. Yeah, where would you like to start?
Well, why don't we start with what is New Earth Star, in your opinion? We talked about it a little bit before on the show, but
yeah, I guess what's your understanding of New Earth Star? Like if I were to ask you, what is your understanding of it, or what do you think it is?
I've heard. I'm gonna answer that a couple ways, and then Heather, you should answer that too. I've heard like it's a completely different planet. I've heard that it's just a hologram. I heard that it's just a feeling. My sense intuitively is that it's obviously a different vibration, but it's a new hologram. What do you think, Heather?
For me, like, it's an escape route. No, I'm just kidding.
It's getting out of this place, man.
Get me out of here. No, I think that it's just a new experience, something that we've been trying to get to, like a get to place, as opposed to maybe an actual place. But I don't know. I mean, I've channeled information on it, and it just, Quinn, rescue us. What is New Earth Star in your opinion?
I only asked that because I think there's different levels of it or experiences of New Earth Star depending on your perspectives, your beliefs, where you stand. From my perspective, even if maybe you're not aware of New Earth Star, you're not a spiritual person whatsoever, never even heard of this concept before, that doesn't mean that you're not a part of the plan. You're not part of the experience or the vibration that it represents. You don't have to be spiritually down the rabbit hole to like reap the benefits of New Earth Star. And I think the most importantly is like, depending on how aware and how tapped in you are, and kind of like what you want to experience of it is really really what you get. And heck, you don't even have to go or meet at that vibration if you don't want to. I mean, we all have free will as individuals, so you can choose to move or raise your vibration or adjust your vibration to interact with it, or you can stay where you're at if you like the way life is now. So I only asked that. I think both of you ladies kind of touched off different aspects of it, and depending on how you view this current plane, if you think we're on a planet, if you think that your perspective of where we are now, where we reside now, obviously it's 3D, it's physical, and some people would call this, our current existence, a hologram as well, or a hologram, I should say. And I think the best way to define New Earth Star is to say it's also a hologram. It's essentially a way that it's essentially a different vibration. Right now, the earth represents and encompasses, certain vibrations, a wide range of emotions and feelings, and essentially anything goes here. You know, you can experience sadness, you can experience loss, death, excitement, happiness, thrill, everything, love, everything in between. And the new Earth star is slightly different. It only actually interacts on a vibrational, like high vibrational plane. So lower vibrations or densities like sadness and loss and pain and emotional pain in that aspect doesn't exist in the same facet or the same way that it does here. We come here as individuals to experience some of those things, but again, from my perspective, Earth was a gigantic experiment of good and evil coexisting, light and dark, trying to live in one specific hologram or space, and testing the waters, seeing how they interact. Where do we go from there? And I think now more than ever, we are divided. However you stand, however you choose to, speak your voice. And I think now is the perfect opportunity to decide which vibration do you resonate with the most, and Earth Star is more resonating with ease and peace and love, and abundance, and on a higher frequency, as I would frankly put it. I don't want to keep rambling on. Does that all make sense to you guys? Do you have any questions based on what I've already said?
It does. I do have a couple questions.
Sure.
So when you see New Earth Star, and you're talking about like the vibrational quotient of New Earth Star being of a higher vibration and like being more like bliss and peace and ease and things of this nature. So do you think, or do you know, like, do those lower vibrational emotions just not exist there because of its high vibrational nature? Like, if people souls wanted to come and incarnate into New Earth Star, can loss or despair or pain be something that is experienced in that hologram?
Yeah, I mean, we're on, like, in my opinion, from my perspective, people still live and die, and it's not that we are eternal in New Earth Star, like there is still life, like cycles of life that exist, right? And and currently those things can end abruptly, whether it's something terrible happens, or maybe there's an illness that they are experiencing or something of that nature, and then you experience loss in that way, right? Like there was a tragic car accident, or maybe someone like was born with a specific disability, or they caught a certain illness, like they're battling cancer or something like that, and then now you as a family member are experiencing that loss of another family member. There will still be life cycles in the New Earth Star, but it won't be as drastic and as negative as we experience now. There won't be the same, cancerous and diseases and illnesses, running rampant. People will experience youth for much longer periods of time, if you even consider time an actual thing. And so in that aspect, there will be loss, because as the cycle continues, there's always something goes away for a new to come. That's just the general progression of things. You can't always stay in a specific state. Even if you want to grow, sometimes you have to shed your skin, or you have to, do some sort of like letting go to be able to move to the next phase. So I do think you will experience loss in that fashion, because even though you're not surprised by them being taken from you, or maybe that you're prepared, that doesn't mean you don't still feel those emotions. And what I more feel vibrationally is like polarity. Everybody is aware of like, polarity. It's such like it's like a shocking word, because it's like, the opposite of good and light and all that kind of thing. So that type of situations and those things that are attached to that won't exist. So you won't experience loss in that way. Like if, tragically someone was murdered, or, kidnapped, or, maybe there was a bombing or something terrible like that, where innocent people were taken with just, no regard. Those types of incidents people won't have to experience anymore, because we've already run the gamut in those things. We've already experienced loss, whether you believe in reincarnation or having ancestors. Just imagine all the people that came before you and what they've experienced and what they've had to endure for our experience now. So I think we can all agree that loss and despair has been experienced on many levels and in different facets, and it doesn't necessarily need to be continued to be experienced.
Wow. Okay. I have more questions.
Of course.
So, I mean, you were talking about our bodies and like youthfulness. I don't know if you put it like that, but that's the way that I heard it. And
yeah,
if time was a construct, so will time be a construct? Like, will we still have the same like timekeeping system, seasons, days, weeks, months, years?
I mean, time was man-made. We have, because of all agriculture and farming, we have the fallback, spring forward type thing. And, those kind of methodologies don't really need to exist anymore, right? Because we've evolved as humans, and technology is different. Our, the way we do things is different. And as we evolve again, like, and become connected with ourselves and focus more on love and support and compassion and peace and faith and ease, a lot of those things will probably fall away because they won't be necessary. You see some people who are just like constantly under stress, right? Like they are always, irritated with something. They have too much on their plate, and we associate that with your hair falling out, with wrinkles, with terrible skin, with acne, all those kind of things. And when someone lives an easy, beautiful life, they have zero blemishes. They don't have any like scouring wrinkles on their forehead. They're not breaking out. They're not having the same physical reactions as other people who live, hard, rigorous, stressful, lives. You can even look at some celebrities, or maybe you even know someone where their mother looks exactly like their daughter. Like they literally don't age. There's some people in existence that look, the older they get, the younger they look. Maybe their life is just getting to a place where they have less stress, where they aren't being forced under those same conditions that they were before. Therefore, they're not manifesting those same physical qualities that other people do. When you're worried all the time, you're gonna develop some sort of illness or physical response to that reaction, to those emotions. So I think in that sense, not having polarity existing, not being under those same like harsh not having to experience those harsh reactions and feel those emotions, you won't be manifesting or developing the physical reaction like you would be in this plane, in this, I would see plane, in this hologram per se.
So I find this incredibly amazing. Like, I'm like, take me there right now. Just my inner beautician just sings with glee. So, I've heard of, I want to stay on the aging thing for just a second here. I know there's so much more to cover, but it's such an important factor that has been in my life for many years of my life. And I have heard of this reverse aging thing, and it makes me wonder, like, as people kind of start moving to this new hologram, people who are in this waking life right now, not ones that are being reincarnated into the new hologram, but, you and me, all of us, right? If as we make our migration to the new hologram, I wonder, do you think like, I wonder if there's going to be like an outward appearance change for those who are existing in the new hologram? Because there's going to be some, especially spiritual workers, light workers who are here to assist in the ascension. They're going to straddle the line, I would imagine, right? So, like, if they're going to be straddling the line, are we going to see maybe something like reverse aging happening? Wouldn't that be like amazing?
Benjamin Button stuff.
Seriously, so awesome. So, I mean, I wonder, I don't know. And that wasn't really a question. It was just kind of a thought that popped into my head that, wouldn't that be extraordinary? Everybody's always looking for like some kind of tangible evidence, show me the proof. My eyeballs, my human monkey eyes need to see. So it's just, I think it'll be fun to see now that this, like new Earth star is it ready to go? Like, has anybody looked into that? Yeah, it's ready.
Yep, ready to go. People can assimilate. Anybody can assimilate. Any being can assimilate with it. I didn't really disclose that earlier. It's not built for humans. It's built for other beings from other parts of the universe or source, or however you want to.
Like all species?
Yeah.
Yes. So it's like it's a place of coexisting. If there's no polarity, if there's no friction, if there's no, judgment in that sense, then there is no reason to coexist with other species, right? Because there's lots of species that coexist that we still don't even understand on Earth before we even arrived here. I don't even know what's in the ocean. I mean, that scares the bejesus out of me. The farther you get down, there's only so far we can even get down and discover. I'm sure farther, darker areas, there's much things that we've never even uncovered, So things from dinosaurs to, reptiles and fish and all these other creatures that are vastly different, spiders, birds, anything that you can think of, there's no essentially really commonality. The only commonality is that they're all part of a life cycle that coexists, that maintain this balance of so life can flourish there. Everybody has a job, everybody has a purpose, but they're all different and unique and beautiful in their own way, and they all provide a unique purpose to Earth, right? So it's not going to be any different in the new Earth star. Humans aren't going to be the only thing that are inhabiting it. And yes, there will be other beings that can, communicate with you, not just bees or other, creatures of that nature, but actual beings coming from, Palladians or whatever you're familiar with, coming there because they all want the same thing. This isn't just a shift for humans, it's a shift for, beings everywhere. Like, united as one that we all experience the shift. It's not just humans, it's everything. We're all connected, everything on life is here. We're all connected here. So therefore everything outside of this experience is connected as well. So it's a neutral place for all us to come together and experience it as one.
I think my brain just broke. You can talk to bees. I'm like, oh my goodness, I can have a conversation with my dog and finally figure out what she's thinking. Snacks.
Yeah, exactly. More snacks, please. I mean, so like the idea of this being like multi-species. I mean, we already have multi-species here on Earth, right? Exactly. I mean, this is nothing new, right? Exactly. We've got, just like you were saying, all these different species here, but communicative species in the form of like language, as opposed to, like barking, chirping, humming, whatever the species are that are on our current Earth plane. But like, I'm going to call them like human-esque beings. Right.
Sure. You can call them aliens. Yeah, you can call them aliens. Yeah, we'll just dub them as aliens, other beings from another planet that we don't coexist with currently. Aliens will
How-
be there. We can put it simply as that.
How many people's minds just totally went to Star Trek? Like the bar scene where they're all sitting around the bar and you've got humans and, you know, all these different beings sitting around having cocktails, some crazy blue fluid in a beaker glass, you know, I don't know. How fun. Definitely. Makes you
So
wonder
fun.
about Gene Roddenberry, doesn't it?
Yep.
Oh man, we got a couple questions.
Shoot.
In the chat, Lauren said, "I want to turn translucent blue." That's an option.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure if you maybe in the new Earth, if you want to, you know, figure that out, I'm sure anything is possible. If you want to be translucent blue, I mean, I'm sure
Wow.
whatever you put your mind to, you can accomplish.
And Scott was saying, doesn't your DNA change? I'm assuming when you get to newer star, when you go through what?
Yeah, so you
take
make
the
there's a
journey?
transition. Yeah, there's a transition. Some people would call it a bridge, some people will call it a gateway, some people will call it a portal. I mean, it's easy to like say that, so there's like, so we can distinctly as humans, like in our brains, logically understand that we're like transitioning to a new space. So the best way is to say that, yeah, there's like a bridge that you walk across or a portal that you go through that essentially gives you access to this new plane. And, you know, the rules and how everything is governed and all that stuff applies once you go through the portals. So again, no polarity can cross. So if they want to be a part of the new experience, the new, you know, experiment or the new place of to reside, they have to kind of resolve themselves or kind of give themselves to the light and kind of like forgo all of the polarity and what they've been kind of working with in this current density. And then, like I said before, illness and disease doesn't exist the same way it does here. I mean, a lot of that stuff, you know, we could debate is, you know, man-made from all the crap that we consume. It's not all natural. A lot of it's just garbage and chemicals. We're kind of putting our bodies through that and having to work through that. Things kind of arise. So all that yuck and gunk gets stripped from your DNA, from your body as you go through. So as you cross the bridge or go through the portal, or, you know, however you want to describe it, you essentially get cleansed or cleaned or, you know, energetically wiped, so you don't have any of that, you know, some people want to call it, you know, heart disease from family members or something that's kind of like as from the family tree passed down, like some, you know, I'm blanking on the word right now, but
Like
having
an epigenetic.
yeah, something that like, you know, you inherited from your
Mm-hmm.
parents or your grandparents or something like that. You're stripped of all of those kind of illnesses and diseases and things as you cross through, and so you can reside in a healthy, happy, you know, light, youthful body.
So, like, I mean, I think about what this experience might be like and like how, you know, if polarity is not able to be present, that would mean that like killing wouldn't really be present. I'm assuming this is an assumption. So if that's the case, like what about like what do you think that we will like eat there? Everybody who knows me knows I'm a food, so naturally my head goes straight to food.
If you're referring to like the idea that like animals are slaughtered for food and us consuming them, and that's not like a spiritual thing, I think if, you know, again, if you kind of look at, you know, Native American heritage and traditions and other, not just them, but other cultures, you know, Japanese, all these other cultures that actually really take pride in, you know, taking care of their livestock and actually using it like, you know, taking care of it in a humane way, killing it in a humane way, using every single thing that being, that soul, that body that has to offer, nourishment for your family, things like hide, fur, all those kind of things. That's also part of your spiritual advancement. Dogs and bees and alligators and lambs and sheep and lion, they're all spiritual beings doing their own journey, living their own lives. And as a cow, maybe your life, your purpose is to nourish other people's families, to provide, to allow other people like reap the bounties that you provide, milk, being able to make cheese, eventually killing the cow, and then being able to feed, families of people, depending on how large and healthy the cow is. It's when you cross over into just mass producing livestock, sticking them in cages, not letting them actually live a fulfilling life. You're abusing them. You're force feeding ducks to have fatty livers so you can eat them so they taste better, and all these type of things. Like, these are inhumane practices, in my opinion. I understand that there's a demand for food, but as far as that goes, I think that will make it's made sure that, like, those, when you're killing an animal, it's actually done with a place of respect and love, and that animal's actually leveling up, you could say, in the spiritual realm, because they are providing themselves as bounty or as nourishment or resource. They're giving themselves to the new Earth star, the plane, and then as they reincarnate, they can reincarnate as something else than a cow or a sheep or a pig or whatever it is. But as those animals' duty is to live their life and then also be nourishment or resources for everybody else. When a lion kills a gazelle, it doesn't just go around slaughtering infinite amounts of gazelle because it's bored. It kills one gazelle, it eats what it needs to, it feeds its family, and then it moves on to the next point where it needs to kill again. It doesn't just thoughtlessly kill because it can to stock up a bunch of meat so it doesn't need to kill later. It's that continuous lifestyle of respect for other creatures living in the same plane that needs to be, established and needs to be maintained. It's when you break those rules and you cross over those boundaries is when things get mucky and disgusting.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. It feels accurate. It feels good when you're talking about the utilization of, well, each other. We're here for one another, and bringing animals and plants and everything into that equation makes so much sense. They would have their own purpose, and maybe their purpose is to nourish or to have children and repopulate an area or whatever it is. And living on a farm, that's, at one point we had cows, and my mom used to milk, and she knows how to make butter and all of those things, which I'd like to learn how to do. But you taste meat that's grown on the farm and not in commercial settings, I guess. And it tastes completely different than, meat that you would regularly buy at a grocery store.
I mean, think about it. If, just real quick, I don't want to go off too far on a tangent, but I mean, cow A lives a luscious life, walks around, sits in the sun, soaks it up, does whatever it wants, gets fed as much as it wants to eat, grazes green pastures. And then once it's, lived its life and it can't live any long before it starts to deteriorate and not be, nourishment for everybody else, it dies in a humane way. Maybe you separate its brainstem or whatever, so it instantly dies. Then the cow, there's the energy associated with that. It's like love, peace, ease, freedom. There's no stress. We talked about earlier of stress in your life creates a physical reaction. So imagine now being stuck in a cage, force fed, and then that you're about to die. You're scared for your life, and then this giant machine comes down and like cuts your head off or whatever happens. There's going to be some spiritual energy associated with that. The life that it lives, it's going to physically manifest into the meat. And now you're consuming that, that fear, that, that angst, that anxiety, that, mistreatment, and then you're nourishing your body with that energy. Like, that's not good for anybody, the animal or you. And same thing, you are what you eat. So if your animal's eating a bunch of garbage and then you're consuming the animal, then you're essentially the garbage that the animal just ate. If your animal's eating green grass and lush vegetables and fruits and nuts and whatever, you're going to have probably a really long, fulfilling life if you kill and eat that animal, because you're reaping the benefits of its hard work. We're all one. We all have to coexist and benefit from each other's existence. If one particular species goes, it can destroy the whole ecosystem and throw everything out of whack. That's why we have to respect one another and treat it as such, and not abuse what we have to offer.
Yeah, very well said. Whew. Shall we get back to how we get there?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I mentioned before, there's core vibrations, there's core emotions that the new Earth star represents. Love being like the main driver and center. Like, if you were going to think of a machine or a car and it was an engine fueled on something, it'd be fueled on love. Okay, so the energy of love, of support, of compassion, giving to everybody else, that is what drives the machine. That exchange of supporting, again, we're all one, being there for one another, loving each other, loving ourselves, most importantly. That's essentially what drives the machine. So that's the main vibration that everybody needs to assimilate with. Step one, if you want to go to Earth Star, figure out how to be in love with yourself. Figure out what you love, figure out what you love doing, figure out what lights you up, what keeps you in that state of fulfillment and happiness, and that makes you feel loved, that makes you feel supported. These are the things that need to be done. As my whole philosophy as a creator, manifesting, is you need to align yourself with what it is that you're looking to experience. If you want a new car, you need to think about the car that you want and what it would be like driving down with the top down, and all those things, connect with those experiences. If you want a relationship, think about all the wonderful things that person offers you, how you will be, in sync, and how they'll fit you like a glove, and, balance you just the way they need to be balanced, and complement you just the way you need to be complemented as a person, and you'll work together as a team. That's, again, we're essentially manifesting the reality. It already exists, just like everything else does in the vortex of creation. If you're familiar with Abraham's work, all we need to do is now access it. Now, the new Earth star already exists. There's a bridge, there's a portal, there's a gateway, however you want to describe it. All we need to do is now walk across it, align ourselves with the vibration that it represents, so we can experience the reality that is new Earth star. So one is the first vibration. Peace is another one. Again, we have to respect each other. Violence doesn't do anything. All this hatred and shouting and yelling at each other and cramming opinions down each other's throats, that's not loving and supporting and being peaceful. That's being abrasive and negative. We want to steer. It's okay that we have opposing opinions, but have a conversation, listen to the other person, talk, and then you listen to the other person and talk. Like, have a back and forth, have an equal exchange. So love, peace, ease. Things don't have to be so hard. You don't need to struggle. I know there's a lot of people brought up saying, like, you got to work your ass off. There's a famous motivational video or quote or audio clip where this guy's like, if you want something so bad, you got to be able to, it's like breathing. When someone holds your head underwater, all you can think about is breathing. He's like, that's what you got to think about when you want to accomplish something. It's like, I understand that hustle, go get grind mentality. A lot of great things have been built on that philosophy, but it doesn't have to be that way. You can still accomplish everything that you want to accomplish through ease, by actually just going through the motions, putting loving energy, putting actual intent behind what it is you're trying to accomplish. You don't need to kill yourself over it. And then hopefully you're in good shape and good faith and good health by the time you've achieved what you're achieving. Again, stress creates, physical manifestation that shortens your life, that creates illness, that creates, all these things that we don't want to manifest. So ease is a huge part of New Earth. The more ease, peace, flow, love that you experience, the less stress that you're actually ever going to be under. Therefore, things will just kind of come into your existence. And how often do we resist? How often do we push back when maybe your mother's like, oh, you need to eat some peas or eat some greens. And you're just like, no, I don't want any of that. And you shove it back in her face. But you might not understand that she has your best intention and she's trying to help you and feed you and nourish you and make sure that you're, growing up to be the strong young woman or man that you're meant to be. If you just give the peas a chance and you just try them, maybe you don't like peas and you can tell your mom, I want a different vegetable for dinner tomorrow. But the instant reaction of resistance is what we need to get away from. It's easing into the transition, easing into what life experiences that we're going to have. They don't need to be abrupt. They don't need to be, full of friction or resistance, And next one is, compassion. Again, we're all one. We all support each other. We need to feel for one another, feel the love that we have for another and connecting to those things. It's essentially all high vibrational emotions and frequencies that reside on New Earth Star. It's not the hatred, it's not the anger, it's not the depression. It's all those light, easy, peaceful flow, clarity. It's all of that clear, crystal clear-minded things. Some people tell me, oh, how do you know that you're on the Earth Star? How do you know that you're experiencing these things? The last couple of days when I looked outside, not a cloud in the world, like in the sky. There was no breeze. I could see farther like from the view in the back of my house, than I've ever seen before in my entire life. There was no friction. There was no clouds. There was no there was not raining. I mean, it's November. I live in California. We still do get clouds. We still do get some rain, and it does get hazy and gray. But to me, in those moments, that's when I realize, that's when I take it, and that's when I know that I'm tasting the reality or tasting the experience of New Earth Star, because nothing is trying to blow me over. I'm not cold. I'm not, I'm just purely existing and soaking in the moment and enjoying myself, and that's a small way of realizing it. But it's once you start piecing all of those small little realizations and all of those small experiences together, you'll look back and realize that your life is completely different. And that's one way to experience New Earth Star. I know we're kind of talking about how transitioning, and there's different ways that you actually experience the transition. That being the easiest and the most gradual is just assimilating yourself with those new frequencies, with love, peace, ease, compassion, faith, all those things that carry that essentially power the New Earth Star. And then once you kind of assimilate with those frequencies, then your life will be easier and easier before you even realize it. Things will just happen for you. You'll have less stress, you'll have less resistance, and then maybe you'll look back and you'll be like, oh, over the last year or two, things have just gotten a lot easier for me. I don't really understand it, but it's just, my life just flows. It's just, it's just like I'm on the lazy river, but I'm doing the things that I want to do. When I do it, I'm happy, I'm excited. There's nothing that I'm fearful of. That's one experience that said being, man or woman might have in the transition. The next one would be actually realizing that you're there. maybe one point of your life you were, here you were experiencing a certain, certain experiences, maybe you had a hard job, maybe you're trying to build a company, maybe you were experiencing a lot of death in the family, or you had a hardship of some sort. And then all of a sudden you realize you're maybe a year or two ago and your life is completely different. Okay. Like you actually realize that you're in a different space. Okay. You look around and things don't seem normally like they were before. You perceive things differently than other people perceive them. And the new Earth star, as things kind of go, as we kind of separate, you can still interact with people on this current plane, but it's, again, you would have to come back. That's why there's a gradual shift in interacting with beings. So it's the gradual one, the realization that tangibly you're looking outside, that you've made it, that you're there, that you're interacting, you're having new experiences that you've never had before. And then the third one being that you actually grow up there, that you actually are born in the new Earth star, that maybe you pass in this experience, that you shed your physical form here, and then you're reborn in the new Earth star. Does that all make sense? I know I want to make sure that I'm allowing you guys to have questions and comments as I ramble on.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense to me. One of the things that I know that I've channeled on is about children that are going to be brought up on New Earth Star, that they are going to come in with like all of the knowledge previous to that timeline. Now, we all know that time is man-made. It's, more of a vertical than a linear sort of situation. But one of the things that I think is really fantastic is that it sounds like, the kids that are going to be born into this new vibration and this new density, this new hologram, they're going to be the storytellers for
Exactly.
that, new experience. And I think that's going to be really, the idea that is really exciting to me, that these, little beings, baby beings are going to come in with all of this knowledge, and they're going to be the record keepers, the librarians that are going to share all of the stories of, of our species later on. And it's going to be a really extraordinary experience. I think I'm looking forward to going.
Yeah, exactly. Because we can't forget where we came from. We can't forget what we've experienced beforehand. As new people come in, there will be a wave of people that reside now, that live now, that make the transition. But then once they're born, once they're reborn, if they were to forget the transition, if they were to forget what it was like beforehand, then they would have no tangible, thing to call upon or to compare to. And it's important that as we move through, as we progress, we don't forget what we used to experience, what things were like before, when polarity did exist, when the first round of experiment, you can consider it, because
Well,
as free will, as us having free will, we don't want to revert back and bring back those old habits.
right. Well, and I think too that, you speak on like when we incarnate now into this earth plane, we are blessed with amnesia, right? So we're given the amnesia for two reasons. One, so that we can actually experience the good and evil coexisting. And two, so that we have the opportunity to find who we are, find the path back to who we actually are. And the idea of not having the amnesia in the new Earth star, or on the new Earth star, however we look at it, is really an interesting idea, because if you could come into your human experience with all of the knowledge of every generation before you or ahead of you all at once, what type of life would you live? Like, how would life be so different? So
Imagine
many
how
of us.
wise you would be.
Well, yeah. And, so many of us spend so much energy in spiritual development, trying to figure out who the heck we are.
Mhm.
My clients all the time are asking me, why am I here? Why did I come? What is my purpose? That's the top 3 questions I get all the time. Wouldn't it be amazing to already know that? And then to have a resource, a place where you could create anything and everything you ever wanted and have it be like interspecies. It's just so extraordinary.
That is extraordinary. I've got another question too, Quinn. I just want to make sure that, I'm understanding this transition. So the bridge, the portal, whatever you want to call it, is open. People are able to go there now. Other species, like all beings, it's open for business, however we want to call this, right? So I have one question, but we'll come back to that. Is anyone there yet? And my understanding based on what you said is that we can slowly transition through vibration, and we can slowly start to notice, the sky looks different. I've been noticing that a lot as of late, just like looking at different things and seeing how beautiful they are. There was frost on the trees, and, just something that I've noticed too. So I'm glad that you said that. But is it also possible that we will just, like wake up and everything's different, or you like physically walk through some sort of portal or a bridge, and like, because I know you said you can go back and forth, like there's a transitionary period, but is there at some point going to be a time where that is now cut off, like there's no more going back, you are here now, you are no longer of old? And I guess that was a lot of questions altogether.
Yeah. So the short answer, I guess, to answer your first question, at some point there, will be cut off, because if polarity doesn't exist, at some point, if you think about it, polarity will all be here and we'll all be there. So they will have their own space and they can, do their own thing, and we will have our own space and do our own thing. As the separation grows and grows, your time is limited as far as you experiencing those particular people or whatever. But in certain instances, maybe you have friends and family that you're worried about, that you think are not going to transition, so you want to, interact with them or whatever. As they assimilate, you can go back and forth and interact with them, right? As as we talked about before, you can slowly transition. Some people who have specific purposes to stay here, to be here, to help other people learn to transition, how to get connected to the Earth Star, how to live in New Earth Star. Those people will probably be some of the last ones to actually go, because they're spearheading the whole thing. They want everybody else to go there. And then essentially, once everybody who wants to go has crossed, then there will be a shift in that sense. Some people might reside on this earth plane, but be, anchored in or get the benefit of new Earth stars. Like I said, their life will be easier, but they won't actually notice that one tangible day they woke up and they're in a different place. So it really depends on the experience that the person wants to have. No, there won't be a bridge that you physically walk across, because that would, I think, create massive chaos, massive hysteria, and it just being a spiritual thing that slowly phases you physically into a different hologram or reality. It's still a thing. It still holds its own vibration. It's still a structure of its own, and it being a physical one, in addition to it existing spiritually, would be very hard to, I think, protect and maintain and actually utilize. To make it easier on the human's conscious mind to wrap their brain around actually wanting to go, it's not Stargate where they're actually physically walking through a portal and then they're at a different, point in time or whatever. I think that would kind of turn a lot of heads and cause maybe a little bit more fear than excitement. So people on a soul level will be crossing on the bridge, but they won't physically be crossing it. It would be more of the what you described as like waking up and be like, oh my God, I'm somewhere else. Like this isn't actually where I normally reside, or you're born there and that's all you know, type of thing.
Has anyone gone?
Yeah, I
Anyone did?
don't. I would say that people from other planets are there much quicker before any other human will probably be there. It's not that right now. I just also want to kind of. I think it's important because we're wrapping up on time. Is really quickly to understand that even though you're not residing in the new Earth plane, I think it's important that you anchor yourself in that energy so you can benefit from um, that experience, that vibration in your current reality, helping you go make the transition easier instead of trying to assimilate with that frequency and then anchoring once you get there. So just really quick, the easiest way to do, I don't know if people ground themselves, if they clear their energy. I do this, I should do it way more than I actually do it, but really quickly, what I do is I stand in like in grass, stand in nature. You can stand in dirt, you can stand in grass, whatever. I wear sandals a lot. I live in California, so I just take off my sandals and I like to feel my feet in nature. Okay. If you want to have shoes on or whatever, it's fine. Ideally, you just don't stand on asphalt or concrete. If you can be out in nature in some form of that, that's amazing. Even if it is just your backyard or a small patch of grass or whatever, as long as it's rooted in nature. It's not like some sort of cut grass that you have in your living room. Then what you do is you dump all your energy. I picture all the energy flowing from the top of my head down through my body, out my feet, and essentially resonated into the land. Like I'm dumping all my energy and I'm kind of dissipating it into the earth. Okay, the easiest way to do that is saying zero ground, zero source. And if you're a programmer or anything of that, there's scripts or mantras that I like to use that essentially tell the universe, that sends out a code or frequency that you essentially are changing, or you're sending out a request that the universe needs to answer. Okay. And zero ground, zero source essentially just means that you're grounding yourself in this plane, in this hologram, and you're reconnecting yourself with source. If you ever had a computer offline for a week or two or a month or whatever, and then all of a sudden you get your internet back, or you find that one laptop that was dusty in the closet and you turn it back on, there's probably a million, you've got Apple or Windows, doesn't matter, there's probably a million little notifications saying you need updates. Okay, as humans, as beings, we're no different. We still get downloads, as people call it, strokes of geniuses or whatever. They get ideas, they get epiphanies. It's all from receiving from source. So zero ground, zero source would ground you and connect you with source in this particular hologram. So what you need to do is you need to, again, if you're a programmer, change the variable or change what represents ground. Okay. So you're zeroing in with your ground and you're zeroing with source. So if you just think in your mind from this point on, when I say to myself, zero ground, zero source, and I'm standing in nature, I'm not grounding myself to this plane. I'm not grounding myself to earth. I'm grounding myself to new earth. Okay. You make that distinction in your mind. And if you want to say, I'm grounding to new earth or whatever, and then say zero ground, zero source, or you want to make a declaration, then that's 100% fine. You can do that if, consciously you feel like that's the most appropriate, but you only really need to do it once. It's like setting a global variable and programming. Ground now represents new earth star. Okay. And so every single time you call the function or say your mantra, zero ground, zero source, you are now grounded in new earth star. And that essentially anchors your physical and your energetic field, not your physical, but your energetic field and your body into new earth star. Therefore, you're reaping the benefits of the core of love, of ease, of clarity, of peace, and freedom, and all those things that it represents. So it bleeds into your current experience and helps you transition and allows you to easier assimilate or align yourself with those vibrations because they're already coming in. You're already essentially basing yourself off those vibrations. Therefore, it's easier for you to assimilate and match or align yourself with those vibrations. Does that make sense?
So
Yeah, sorry, go
Yeah.
ahead, Heather.
I know I just want to recap what he said really quickly.
Yeah.
Something kind of popped in and I think that it's important. So basically what you're saying is for us to ground in to new earth stars energy, new earth stars frequency, and new earth stars vibration, we can say something along the lines of, I am now zero ground to new earth star from now until the end of my days.
Until you change it. You can change it. Just say from now on,
okay.
Like when
From
I
now
say
on.
zero ground, it means that I'm grounding myself with new Earth star.
Okay, and then all you have to do to link up is zero ground, zero source. So you are
Correct.
linking yourself to source, creator, and to new earth star.
Correct. You can physically
easy.
say out loud zero ground, zero source, or you can think in your brain zero ground, zero source. It makes no difference. Whatever you as an individual feel like is most effective, that's what you should do. Everybody's ritual, everybody's, routine is all specific and personalized to what makes them feel comfortable and what's effective for them. So do what you feel works for you. But it's as simple as stating those words and with the intent of anchoring and grounding your energy in new Earth star instead of this one.
Awesome. My question rolls right into that. So that was perfect, Heather. So when I have, ground into Mother Earth before, I have felt like sturdy, safe, secure, love, expansion, all of these things that I have felt from Mother Earth, nurtured. And when I call forward or think about the differences between the two, the vision that passed through my mind was like crystal versus regular glass. Like it's just so much clearer, so much stronger. Would you say that that's what you feel when you've done this in the past, grounding to new Earth star versus grounding to Earth, like Mother Earth?
Yeah, exactly. I've been doing this new grounding thing for almost a week. I can, say with confidence that the ability to integrate with New Earth it's been like less than 5 human days that it's been available. So everybody's getting in on the cutting edge. No one's missing out. And like, oh man, I could have been doing this a long time ago. No, this is all fresh off the press. So no need to feel like you're being left out. That's why we're here. That's why we're talking about it, because we want everybody to ground into this new energy. So I honestly feel much lighter. I feel much ease. Like, I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, I feel ease, but like, it's kind of like I was tight before, and then I kind of got a massage, and now I feel all loosey goosey, like it's kind of like I unfold or I relax or I let go a bit. And then I definitely feel more clearer. Like in the creation of the new Earth, vibrant colors was a very, important thing. So when you look out and you see the stars and you see how crazy bright the moon is, or you see the stars come through when they normally don't come through if you live in California, or if you're looking at the sunset and it's amazing and it's like you've never witnessed a sunset before in your entire life like that, those are just small, like tangible evidences that like the universe is telling you that you're getting that much closer and you're experiencing it physically. We all get signals, we all get signs that things are going our way, or that we're actually getting closer to what we want. That's just a way of it like seeping in, and you're slowly getting both simultaneously. Like I said, when I experienced and I sat outside and there was not a breeze in the air, it was completely clear and I could see as far as my physical eyes would allow me. I knew that like I was residing in a space of ease and freedom and flowing and peace and love. and nothing disturbed me there. And it wasn't until I got more anxious and more upset about other things in my 3D life, and I look outside, clouds are rolling in, it's getting dark and shit, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, so it's like, I know that might seem silly to some people, but like, that's truly what I believe. And I live my life by these philosophies and concepts, and that's how I create. That's how I bring these things in. I align with these vibrations, and that's how I experience things, mostly through feeling.
And, just to put a cap on that whole thought of, how when you are in this place of ease and you are firmly rooted in new earth star energy, and the sky is clear, the sun is out, you can see for miles. I mean, you can see, islands that you normally can't see. It's just really amazing. And then the storm starts brewing inside, and the storm rolls in. And just in the time that, we've been on this conversation, I have also witnessed the change outside. When we started this live, it was crazy dark and gloomy out, and now the sun is shining and the sky is clearing up. So it's amazing
Beautiful.
how just being in that energy can just change everything. It's really beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. All right. Well, we are like just out of time. Is there like one last thing that you want to say, Quinn, or anything, last words that you want to say, Heather, either?
I'm going to say it. I'm going to ask Quinn a question, because, and I'm going to kind of put him on the spot here, and he's probably going to totally give me evil eye for doing this, but there was a request in our conversation here on our live today about Quinn facilitating a way to take us to New Earth Star to view it, like a guided meditation. So I just want to toss that out there. Are you open to that someday?
Yes, that's been requested for me multiple times. This is the second time today, so maybe that's something that I should be doing, because I'm for multiple facets or multiple resources or sources. People are telling me I should do such things. So yeah, maybe a
special event is in your future.
Maybe we can do it sometime in, I don't know, December or January. I know the holidays are coming up and people's schedules are a bit crazy, but yeah, maybe we can fit something in and facilitate that. I want to do it in such a way that like you don't have to be live to experience it. So if someone were to rewatch it or get the recording, then they can use the same they can follow along and have the experience at some other point. I think there'll have
Definitely.
to be some safeguards in place for the people who rewatch it, because I know you as a channel and as Jodie and myself, we all have our own personal safeguards, and facilitating such things, people would be included in our container, our safe space. So I would just want to make sure that caveat's there.
Of course.
But if I were to say one thing, start making more decisions out of love and less out of fear. Please do that. If you can take one thing home from this, anchor yourself in new Earth Star energy, and then start making more decisions out of love and less out of fear.
Oh, love it. So good. Amazing. Well, we are out of time. I'm sorry, everyone. I think we could have talked about this for way longer. I had more questions like, are unicorns, do they exist in New Star? I could have belted like 20 questions. Maybe next time you come on, I will have a list of like rapid fire questions for you, Quinn. That was amazing. Thank you so much for spending time with us. And
thank you for having me.
No problem. Thank you to everybody that's watching. Click the like button, share this video, comment. Let's really blow up all the information that we have been talking about here. And we'll have all the links for Quinn below. And anything else you want to add, Heather?
I think it's just wonderful, our conversation today. And Quinn is a humble guy and would never say it, but he is accessible. So if you're looking to create something in your life, hit him up. It's what he does. He is the creator of things. So you want to create something, he can co-create with you. And we'll have his links in the video description below. Yeah. Awesome today. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.